Most people believe that mortgage rates are set by the Fed, and that's actually not how it works. The federal funds rate is what we're referring to in this conversation is simply the rate that the federal government sets for banks to loan money to each other overnight. That's all the federal funds rate is. Mortgage interest rates are tied to the 10-year federal Treasury bond. Well, really the bond yield. So here's how the thinking goes. Mortgage loans are really just long-term investments. And so if I'm an investor, I have my investor hat on and I'm thinking about investing in mortgage loans, I'm going to compare it to the federal 10-year Treasury rate because the federal government always pays its bills. And so if I'm an investor and I'm going to invest in financing mortgages, I've got to get a better return than the 10-year federal funds rate because that's basically a guaranteed return. So as an investor, I'm going to add an additional margin or percentage return I expect to account for things like risk and inflation and economic changes. So what really moves interest rates? Well, it's a combination of the 10-year federal funds rate as well as investors' appetite for risk, what they think is going to happen with inflation, and what the economy is doing. The Federal Reserve still influences interest rates, but does not directly contribute them to the federal funds rate. So yes, the Fed matters, but understand it's primarily driven by the 10-year bond. So if you're trying to time the market in mortgage rates, the thing to be watching is not the federal funds rate, but actually the 10-year Treasury yield, and to think a little bit about where you think inflation is going, where you think the economy is going, and what level of appetite large-scale institutional investors have for mortgage risk. Now, that's a lot of information. It's kind of wonky and economic. If you have questions about how this impacts you or how you should be thinking about interest rates, that's what we're here for. Ask us questions. We love to have these conversations, and I'm looking forward to talking to you soon.